Hey guys, mahal everyone, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel with another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In today's video, I have another video for you guys featuring the character DEUCE, which is going to be going live soon in the global version of the game, entitled For Fun or For Glory. So, upon DEUCE's release, is she going to be a character for fun, or is she going to be a character for glory? Well, let's go ahead and find out. So when DEUCE comes out first in Opera Omnia, what does she bring to us? She brings to us offensive support with her unique buffs and the ability to amplify the amount of magic damage your party deals. So think of her as like Cait Sith, except she's magical damage, whereas Cait Sith is melee damage. And then she also is a great option as a Brave Battery, and she could take Cait Sith's place when fighting against enemies who resist his melee damage. So if you're up against an enemy, for example, for DEUCE's event, the Steam counts, they actually resist melee damage, so it's probably not a good idea to bring Cait Sith. DEUCE is a wonderful option to replace him because she is magical damage. And then she does have AoE Brave damage, which is great, so that way if you're dealing with multiple targets, she can actually damage all of them, and it's also paired with Overflow, so that way she can deal as much damage as possible. And she has amazing auras coming from her various passives, so her 50 passive, 54 passive, and 58 passive all have auras that support the entire party. So these are the invisible buffs, which is amazing that she has this to further solidify her stance as a really good support character. So now we're gonna go ahead and take a look at her abilities. So her first ability, and this is a deeper look into them, is called Concerto. Now when we take a look at this, I'm going to consider all passives equipped, so her 15 CP as well as her 55 passive. So this is going to be healing the party's Brave based on 30% of max Brave. So there's the Brave Battery option right there. It has a low action delay, which is pretty good, so that way she can act as hopefully as soon as she uses this. It also grants that unique buff called Note to the entire party for 8 turns, and Note increases that unit's attack by 10%. However, and this is something that I actually forgot to mention in my overview video for this event, that Note buff is dispelled if the unit who has it is broken. So this is kind of the flaw that this unique buff has that DEUCE provides. But other than that, I like the attack increase, so that way your party or that unit is dealing more damage. And she also gets a small speed increase to herself as long as that Note buff is active, and it changes her HP attack to HP attack plus, and her HP attack plus, aside from dealing HP damage, is also going to be healing the party's Brave based on the HP damage she deals and on the number of Note unique buffs present. So at 1 Note, it heals their Brave by 10% of damage dealt. At 2, it's at 15%, and at 3, it's at 20%. So you want to make sure that you have as many Note buffs active, so that way you're taking advantage of the full potential of that HP attack plus. Now let's go ahead and take a look at her second ability, which is called Dissonant Sonata. Again, all passives considered, both the 35 CP weapon and as well as the level 60 passive. So it is going to be a one-hit AoE magic Brave plus single target HP attack. So it hits everybody if there's multiple targets, but it's only going to deal that HP attack to the single target that you're actually targeting. It also has a Brave damage potency that is based on the number of notes present. So again, it's reliant on that Note unique debuff. So at 0 notes, it's at 100% Brave damage potency. At 1, it's at 120%. 2, it's at 60%, and finally at 3, it's at 200%. It also deals additional 60% Brave damage potency against a single target. So keep that in mind, that it hits harder if there's only one target left. It also has a Brave overflow mechanic of up to 120% of max Brave. So this is great, especially with damage dealing units now in Opera Omnia. It's really good that they have overflow, so that way they're dealing as much HP damage as possible. It also grants her a unique buff called Crescendo for 6 turns. So Crescendo grants her a max Brave increase and a Brave regen, and this is based on the number of notes active. So again, it's reliant again on that Note unique buff. So let's take a look at what it does. So at 0 notes, it's going to give her a 5% max Brave up and a Brave regen by 5% of her initial Brave. At 1 note, it goes up to 10% max Brave Up and a Brave Regen of 10% of initial Brave. At 2 notes, it's at 20% max Brave Up and a Brave Regen of 20% of initial Brave. And then finally, at 3 notes, it goes up to 40% max Brave Up and a Brave Regen by 40% of initial Brave. Now, that's not all that this ability does. So, Dissonant Sonata also grants the party a 30% magic attack up for 6 turns. So again, I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video that she amplifies magic damage, and there it is. So if you run her with a party of like Lael, who does magical damage, and he's also a launcher, and Beatrix, she is very, very valuable for that team party setup. That's just an example, but that's one way to really maximize her usage for this magic attack up for 6 turns. And then her Brave Attack will also change to Brave Attack Plus. So this is going to be a 1-hit non-elemental magic Brave Attack. The Brave damage potency, again, is based on the number of notes, so definitely reliant on that note unique debuff. At 0 notes, it's at 110%. 1, 120, 2, 140, and 3, 180%. So what are going to be Deuce's pros and cons? So first of all, her pros. Like we said earlier, amazing auras provided to the party from her 50, 54, and 58 passive. So coming from her 50 passive, and this is the base version, because remember, you can actually amplify this with the artifacts for her Earnest Achiever level 50 passive. She grants the party 20% initial Brave and 10% attack. For her 54 passive, the aura that she provides is 20% initial Brave and small speed to the party. And then at 58, 20% attack and max Brave to the party. So those are really good auras, and I do like that this applies to the entire party, which, like I said, solidifies her as an amazing support. Now, she also is an amazing battery because she has 3 options to heal Brave for the party. So both of her abilities, Concerto and Dissonant Sonata, provide Brave. And then don't forget her HP Attack Plus also provides Brave depending on the amount of notes that you have active. And then she has good buffs to assist in offensive damage, so you get that 10% attack as well as the 30% magic attack increase based on magical damage. Now her cons, so she does have cons, and everyone already knows it. Her one major flaw is being extremely reliant on the note unique buff. So if she gets broken, or if a unit gets broken, they lose that note unique buff. So you want to make sure that you don't get broken, which is really difficult at times, because sometimes in some ways it's okay to get broken, so then that way your summon bar increases. But the problem with that is that if you're using Deuce, you're not maximizing the full potential of the note unique buff, because you do lose it if you get broken. So running her maybe with another battery would definitely help with this. So maybe running her alongside Selphie or Katesith or Aerith, units like that would definitely help keeping that note unique buff active. And then her base damage is low, so she does have a low base attack stat, as well as the base damage on her abilities, because they're reliant on note, is pretty low. So that is another con. And then compared to Selphie and Katesith, so one thing that both of those top tier support units currently have is they have an option to heal. So Selphie has it with Drain, and then Katesith has it with his Cheerful Gift because he provides HP regen. Deuce doesn't have that. Now she does provide Brave Regen to herself, but she doesn't provide it to the party, so she only really amplifies the offensive capabilities of your party. So that's another con that she does have. But overall, despite that, she is a really good unit. And some final thoughts before going into the Deuce event is, overall, despite that major flaw of losing the note buff when broken, Deuce offers players a solid option for support, especially if you missed out on Katesith or Selphie. So I definitely feel like she sits as a character for glory if you choose to build her up. And like I said, she's an amazing option to replace Katesith if you're up against a difficult enemy that resists melee damage. She works well in a launch team with Lael alongside another support and Brave battery. However, I do want to point out that running her with Katesith, they can push each other's buffs off, so you want to keep that in mind if you're going to be running them alongside each other. And then for her artifacts, focus on Earnest Achiever 2-star. That way you maximize the capabilities of the level 50 passive, max Brave plus 330, and attack plus 108. And then for the future, a little bit of a future spoiler here, she later becomes more amazing because she receives a rework, she receives a level 70, and she receives an EX weapon. And when she gets that EX weapon, it could already be limit broken to EX plus, and her note buff with the rework later on is much better because getting broken no longer removes it, which is amazing. So she is a definite future investment. So if you decide to build her up upon her initial release in the global version of the game, just know that this character does get better later on with the rework, level 70, and the EX weapon. Alright guys, well this is going to conclude my for fun or for glory for Deuce. She is definitely a character I feel that is for glory, so hopefully it helps you guys out. Once again, this is Fori the Broadway saying, stay tuned for my next video, and mahal everyone.